Good morning. Y'all like the new set? Welcome to the Thursday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. The usual suspects will be in a moment, but I'm going to get right down to business and welcome a very dear friend in broadcasting as well as a very dear brother to me. He is the fabulous voice of the Indianapolis Colts, the one and only Matt Taylor. Good morning, Matt.
What's up? Good morning. Let's go.
What's going on, man? How are you today?
I'm just ready for summer, dude. Summer's here. We had Memorial Day weekend. Football's on the horizon. Life is good. What's up with you?
Hey, life's good here, man. Life is good here. Glad to have you with us today. And you mentioned football is on the horizon, which means a very exciting season of Colts football is on the horizon. We talked about it last time. The health of one Anthony Richardson is going to play a major role. The schedules came out recently, and you want to talk about the Colts having a competitive season. I submit to you Exhibit A, the 2024 season.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what's so exciting right now about the offseason workout program is that you're seeing all that excitement. You're seeing all that potential on full display. You've got 22 starters coming back. You've got Anthony Richardson coming back. You've got all this health, all this availability, all this continuity. It's exciting. And you've got 21 of 22 starters, out there right now. The only exception being Braden Smith at the right tackle position. But you're seeing Anthony Richardson look like a guy not coming off-season shoulder surgery, which is so good to see with the arm strength. The velocity is there. You can just tangibly see him, taking those next steps in terms of growth with the mental side of things, knowing where to go with the football. The buzzword you're hearing about that is just accelerated vision in terms of diagnosing coverages, knowing where to go with the football, getting the ball out quickly, taking it to the right spot. So it's all exciting right now what you're seeing in May, but obviously, there's 32 teams across the NFL right now that have got a lot of hope that are undefeated this time of year. But given where this team was last year, 9-8 and by an eyelash missing out on the playoffs with the banged up quarterback, there is a lot of excitement. There is a lot of expectations going into next season.
You just said the key word, expectations. There's so much expectations right now in Indianapolis, and it's the first time it's been this hyped for a long time since Andrew Luck was the quarterback. You have a quarterback right now who's very strong, and Anthony Richardson. As you mentioned, you got 22 starters coming back, 11 on both sides of the ball. The continuity is there. I mean, it's just time for the Colts to take that next step.
It is. And you're talking about a guy that it's a second year quarterback, not a rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? And with that, you've got all 5 offensive line starters coming back. I mean, that's really rare. You've got an 1,800-yard rusher in Jonathan Taylor. We forget that Taylor and Richardson, those guys played 2 snaps together, in a game last year total for the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Richardson played 173 snaps for the year and scored 7 total touchdowns. So, again, it looks good on paper, but the game is not played on paper. And meanwhile, there's a ton of parity elsewhere all over this conference, especially within the division. In the AFC South, you're still going to have to contend with the Texans and the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. So, yes, you got better, but so did a lot of other teams and a lot of other people. But, in terms of playmakers, the Colts added, key playmakers to premium positions in the offseason, which I thought was so important.
Oh man, it's very important. And speaking of the Texans, well, what do you know? You open up with the Texans on September 8th. It's a 1:00 kickoff. We've talked about this quite a few times with key games for the Colts. You open up with a key opponent in the Houston Texans. It's at home. It's at the Luke, and you want to talk about the place that's going to be loud on opening day? Again, Exhibit A, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and let's go because the Colts haven't won a Week One opening game since 2013. You're talking about 10 straight Week One losses, the longest such losing streak in the NFL. And I think it's a huge barometer game. I think it's a litmus test game, and it's kind of that scene of the crime. Week 18 last year, the same two
Mhm.
teams came in, winning you're in. Loser goes home. It was essentially a playoff game. We all remember how it went. So you pick up kind of right where you left off last year, and you're trying to defend or knock off, I should say, the defending AFC South champs with a team that's got a lot of hype, and everybody's already crowning them. And C.J. Stroud is the greatest quarterback, since Brett Favre and all of these different things. But bigger picture than that, if you look at the first quarter of the season, 3 of your first 4 games were at home, so you need to take advantage of that. But in saying that, 3 of those teams made the playoffs last year. And then the wild card of that bunch are the Chicago Bears. And they're going
Mhm.
to be obviously much improved and kind of a wild card team early in the season with a rookie quarterback and Caleb Williams. So it's exciting to see just how front loaded the first part of the schedule is for the Colts with all of those division games. I mean, you're going to be done with your AFC South road slate since, or I should say, by late October, which
Yep.
kind of lightens things up there towards the end of the season. But, the first half of the year is going to tell you how much margin of error you've got for the back half and how viable you are for the playoffs. So, all of those games at the beginning of the season mean a lot more because of the front loaded nature of the AFC South, which is what we've been saying about the Colts schedule now for 3 straight years.
They go to Jacksonville on October the 8th, October the 6th, I beg your pardon. A week after that, they go to Tennessee. And then you get Miami and Tua Tagovailoa in your house on the 20th. And then you go to Houston on the 27th of October. It's going to be very early to say this because you know the AFC South as well as I, very competitive division. Every team in that division can sneak up and win that thing. But if you really pay attention, that game on the 27th could be a precursor to decide the AFC South title, given the fact that the Colts and the Texans have their starting quarterbacks and they're both healthy.
Well, I just think that that second quarter of the season is such a gauntlet. You go from October 6th really down to November 10th. And you got 4 out of 5 games on the road, and you've got
Mhm.
3 AFC South road games. You're at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, and then at Houston. And then if you want to take it a week further, you go to at Minnesota,
You go
which
at
is a really
Minnesota.
difficult, yeah, really, really difficult place to play. The Colts found that out a couple years ago in that epic collapse.
Yep.
It's a really, really good environment, but you're exactly right. I think that is going to be the part of the schedule. I don't know if it's a make or break part of the schedule, but again, it's going to tell you a lot about the Colts' viability to contend for the playoffs in what is already a really crowded AFC field. And all of these games are just going to mean so, so much. And the parity is just riddled from top to bottom inside the conference. And we haven't even had a training camp practice yet.
We haven't, but it's going to be crazy in the AFC. Then you see Josh Allen in Buffalo. You see how they are. You go to the Jets on the 17th, and 7 days later, you see the NFC North champion Detroit Lions in Indianapolis, who came within a half of reaching their first ever Super Bowl. So you know they have a chip on their shoulder. Every team on this schedule, especially the ones that you see twice, they all have a chip on their shoulder for one reason or another. And this front loaded road schedule for Indianapolis is going to provide a real big, as you said so well, a real big litmus test for the Colts, especially coming out of the gate and you see Houston the first week.
Yeah, you got 5 of your first 8 games against playoff teams from last year, but more so than anything else, you look at the construction of the team going into the season, and I wouldn't call it an area of weakness, but certainly an unknown compared to the rest of the team. When you talk about all the experience that the Colts bring back, it's just the secondary. You've got Jalen Jones, who's a second-year player. You got Dallas Flowers, who's coming off an Achilles tear in week 4 last year, and he's only started 5 games in his career. You've got Juju Brents, who was a rookie last year, but he missed a lot of time. He only played in 8 games last year and missed a
Right.
lot of time in the spring as a rookie. So he's back. But the point I'm trying to make is not only do you play really good teams, but you're playing really good quarterbacks, and they're all kind of stacked there at the beginning of the season, like we talked about. You got Jordan Love, you've got Caleb Williams, you got Russell Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, all in the first 6, 7 games. You got C.J. Stroud twice in the first 8 games. I mean,
Right.
this is going to be a really important thing for the Colts to kind of hash out and hopefully identify their strengths as a defense, because you're going into year number 3 with Gus Bradley as a defensive coordinator. I've been saying it all off season that there's just too much individual talent on that side of the ball to be
Mm-hmm.
finishing 28th in points allowed in each of the last 2 years. So you've got Liatu Latu now. He comes over in the draft, the 15th overall pick, but the first defensive player off the board. And can you maybe afford yourself the ability to be a little bit more aggressive schematically this year because you have a formidable pass rush? And do you trust those guys in the secondary who were all here last year, but so kind of green and raw and inexperienced? Do you trust those guys this year to be a little bit more aggressive in playing press man to man? Those are the things that I'm going to be watching out for. And quite frankly, we're really not going to know the answer to those things until we start playing games in the regular season. But do you trust the secondary a little bit more because they have a little bit more experience going into this season against those quarterbacks that you're going to see in the first 2 months of the season?
Just one of the many, many questions that we're going to answer together, because old Snowman's got the coverage here in Southern Indiana. The voice that you hear is my dear friend, Matt Taylor, the fabulous voice of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us to kick off the show. Third year we have been working together. Man, I am so hyped for this season, for the Colts and for you and your staff bringing all 17 games to Colts Radio. Man, I am so excited, and I am blessed and honored to be working with you again.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on. Let's go.
Let's do it. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Matt Taylor, my good friend, the fabulous voice of the